Hello, welcome to today's show. It's They Don't Pay Me to Say No, Dean Goodine's Hollywood star-studded memoir on a life in props. The show today is brought to you thanks to the Your Family Story system, which is a system that helps you interview a loved one and record their life story. And I have some free sections to this at the end of the show, so please stay with me. If you're brand new to Forever Young Autobiographies, a big g'day. This is where we learn how to write life stories for family and friends so that unique memories can live on for future generations. And it'd be really great if you could follow, subscribe, like the show, even share it with a friend. So the full title of this book is They Don't Pay Me to Say No, My Life in Film and Television Props. And it's been published by Friesen Press and written by Canadian prop master Dean Goodine. Now, Dean wrote this book for a number of reasons, but he wanted to show how props are really integral to the success of any movie or any TV show. And he really charts the highs and lows of 36 years working with the stars. Now, he's worked with some big names. I've got here Clint Eastwood, we've got Brad Pitt, Jason Momoa, and more. He says here he's worked on everything from Oscar-nominated feature films like Unforgiven, network TV shows like Stargate SGI, streaming hits like A Series of Unfortunate Events, plus many small independent films. So I was lucky to catch up with Dean recently to find out more about him, more about his book, and what he can help us, some tips and suggestions for fellow life story writers. So let's jump in. Firstly, Dean lives in Summerland, British Columbia. He lives with his wife, Janice Blackie Goodine, and they've been married for 32 years. And Janice herself is a set decorator, and she has been a nominee for an Academy Award. So how good is that? But Dean says he wrote this book for a number of reasons. He'd noticed over the past few years the growth in the streaming platforms and how there's a lot of younger people coming up through the ranks and they really lacked the mentorship that he was lucky to have. So he wanted to write this book for all filmmakers. And he explains that he wanted to convey what works and what doesn't work in terms of movies and props. But he also wanted to write a book that was funny, heartfelt and positive. So really great whys behind this book. But let's jump now to the process. How did this book come about? Now, Dean told me he had a Facebook page where he shared funny stories about sets, what happened on set, and his friends would say, "Oh, this is really great. You should write more about this. I'm really enjoying this." And so he had a lot of stories, and one night after work he came back and he was looking at these stories and he was thinking, yep, there's probably a book in this, I'm going to give it a shot. And so he did end up writing a first draft, he says, mostly for stress relief. But there was a few things he had to figure out. Number one was the format. How is he going to get this down? And he decided to do it chronologically. Then how does he explain props and all of that to an ordinary reader, us non-film people? How is he going to do that in English, in plain language, so that we could understand? And then what about the chapters? He decided here that each chapter would be its own standalone story with a beginning, middle, end, and then that would flow naturally into the next chapter. It did take him about 3 months to write this first draft, but then it took a year to just polish it, rewrite it, and get it ready to publish. He says he tried a few publishers, but many of them said, look, Prop Master, we don't know the audience for this book. But then the film Rust tragedy happened, in which cinematographer Helena Hutchins was tragically killed, and Dean was like, oh, I've got to push on with this book regardless, like it needs to get out there. There could be learnings in my story that could help prevent a tragedy. So really, really motivating was to put it out and self-publish no matter what. So let's jump now to tips and ideas that Dean gleaned from this process. Now, he said he got a lot of feedback about the book. He got wonderful responses from friends, from family, and he got comments and he got in touch, readers from all around the world. There was prop masters in Australia here, and then there's retired prop masters in the States who got in touch with him saying, look, this is a fantastic read. I couldn't have done it better myself. So Dean says he's really felt like his career is complete having put this book out. And in fact, he told me that this book is now used in the film program at the school where he went to 37 years ago. So how good is that? He's a first-time writer, just putting it out there, having an amazing success. So really, really great to hear about how this publishing process has come to full cycle. But the tips Dean wanted to pass on to us as life story writers, he had a few. Number one is don't be intimidated by the task, because we all have a unique story to tell. Very, very wise words there, Dean. Very important. Don't be put off. You don't need to be a celebrity to write your story. Second, set time aside to write. In his instance, he said he sat down and diligently wrote from 9 o'clock in the morning to 12 noon, and then he would stop, no more writing, and do other things. So he got that regularity, that discipline, and the writing, it started to stack day after day after day. And that's how you get a first draft done. Finally, don't be discouraged by publishers. Look, keep believing in yourself and just keep going. And that's what he did. Publishers were a little bit confused about his book, but he knew there was something in it. There was real strong motivations of why to put it out. And he pressed on, and he's really, really grateful, really happy that he did. So that's pretty much a case study about, for Dean, there's a Canadian property master's entertaining life story which goes behind the scenes of film and TV hits. So to recap, I've talked a little bit about Dean, his book, how he came to write the book, and then tips and feedback he's had along the way. Now, if you would like to find out more, this show is a summary of a larger article I have over at my website. Go to foreveryoungautobiographies.com/they don't pay me to say no. And I'll have the links for you in the show notes. But head over there, you can see cover of the book. You can see some awesome photos of Dean on set. I won't spoil it for you, but yeah, you've really got to check that out. Lots of big names in some of those photos. And look, I think the whole article, this show too, just highlights that through books like Dean's, there's so many lessons that can be taken away from life stories, and that they're valuable and they're really needed by the younger generation. So I think that is a fantastic message to end on. But I have a question for you before we part. Do you have a story about meeting a celebrity? These are really entertaining, and sometimes I love to hear from you guys. So please send me your answers. You can do it in the comments here or over at the article. And if you have any questions about life story writing, you can send me an email at foreveryoungautobiographies.com/contact. At the top of the show, I mentioned the Your Family Story system. Now, this is a step-by-step process which I've done over the years as a journalist, and I did with my grandmother when I helped her write her life story. And it basically shows you how to interview a loved one and then to record that and then package it up into a various format. I give you the first 3 sections to this system. If you go to foreveryoungautobiographies.com/free, you get to just get an introduction to the system, see if it's for you, and there's some helpful tips that you can take on board for your own project. So please check that out. Everyone finds that really useful, and it's my free gift to you. So I'll be back again soon with another show, with another life story learnings for you. But it'd be really great if you could follow, subscribe, like the show, even leave it a review if you found it helpful. And until then, everybody, happy writing.